All right, if you're aiming for JEE Main 2026, you already know it's a beast. It's way more than just a test, it's a whole system. So over the next few minutes, we're going to crack that system wide open for you. We'll break down everything, from how you should apply to the nitty-gritty of how your final rank gets calculated. Let's jump right in. But before we get into all the details, let's start with the big idea. The official vision from the National Testing Agency, the NTA. This really sets the stage. It's a reminder that this whole thing isn't just about you passing an exam. It's about being part of something much, much bigger. This one sentence really frames the importance of the journey you're about to start. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at the big picture. Then, we'll decode the exam papers so you know exactly what you're up against. After that, we'll dive into your application playbook, cover the must-know rules for exam day, and finally, we'll clear up what happens after the test. All right, Section 1, the big picture. Before we get into all the tactics and deadlines, let's just zoom out for a second and really understand what JEE Main is all about and why it's set up the way it is. So what is JEE Main, really? Well, it actually does two super important things. First, it's your direct ticket into some of the best engineering and architecture programs in the country. Think NITs and IITs. But second, and you have to get this, it's the one and only gateway to JEE Advanced. If you're dreaming of the IITs, you have to clear this first. There's no other way. Now, one of the best parts about the JEE Main setup is that you get 2 shots at it. 2 sessions, one in January and another in April. And this isn't just a backup plan, it's a massive strategic advantage. You get to learn from your first go, it takes a ton of pressure off, and here's the kicker, only your best score out of the 2 is used for your final rank. It's a huge plus. Okay, Section 2, decoding the papers. We've got the why, so now let's get into the what. Because knowing the exact structure of these papers, well, that's where your real strategy begins. First up, the big one, Paper 1 for BE and BTech. It's a really clean structure, perfectly balanced with 100 marks each for math, physics, and chemistry. Section A is your standard multiple choice questions. But look closely at Section B. For each subject, you get 10 numerical questions, but you only have to answer 5 of them. Got choice is a huge part of your strategy on exam day. Now, if you're an aspiring architect, this is your blueprint, Paper 2A. It's a really interesting mix. You've got math and a big aptitude test section, which are both on the computer. But the game changer here is Part 3, the drawing test. This is actually done offline, with a real pencil and paper. The whole thing is out of 400 marks. And for those interested in a Bachelor of Planning, there's Paper 2B. At first glance, it looks a lot like the architecture paper. It shares the same math and aptitude sections. But instead of a drawing test, you get a planning-based test with 25 MCQs. And unlike the B-Arch paper, this one is 100% computer-based. Now let's talk about the marking scheme, and I need you to pay super close attention here. It's simple, but it's also kind of brutal. For any correct answer, whether it's an MCQ or a numerical one, you get 4 marks. Awesome. But, and this is a big but, for every wrong answer, you lose 1 mark. The key takeaway here is that negative marking applies to both types of questions. This means random guessing can absolutely destroy your score. Accuracy is king. All right, Section 3, the application playbook. So you know the exam inside and out. Now let's get practical and walk through exactly how to apply for it. Okay, time for some super important dates. For that first session in January, the application window is actually pretty tight. It opens on October 31st, and it's all over by November 27th. The exams are in the last week of January, and you'll get your results by February 12th. Seriously, put these dates in your calendar right now. You do not want to miss these. And here's a quick look at the application fees. This is per session for one paper if you're taking the test in India. As you can see, the fees are different depending on your category and gender, going from about 500 to 1,000 rupees. Just make sure you know which category you fall into. The good news is the application itself is really straightforward. It's just a simple 3-step process. First, you register online and they'll give you a unique application number. Second, you fill out the main form, all your personal details, documents, that kind of thing. And finally, you pay the fee online. Boom, you're done. Okay, Section 4, rules of the game. So you're all registered and ready to go. Now we need to have a serious talk about exam day itself. The rules here are incredibly strict and there's absolutely no wiggle room. This right here is your exam day checklist. It's a short list, but every single item is mandatory.
You need your admit card, a photo, a valid photo ID like your Aadhaar card, any special certificates you need, and a simple, transparent pen. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now for the really critical part, what not to do. The NTA has this thing called unfair means, and they are not messing around. It covers the obvious stuff, right? Like no phones, no copying. But what might surprise you is that it also includes things like swapping your rough sheets or even just fidgeting and looking here and there. The message is crystal clear. Your eyes stay on your own screen, period. And if you break these rules, the consequences are huge. We're talking about being banned from taking any NTA exam for up to 3 years. 3 whole years. It is just not worth the risk. All right, Section 5 after the test. So, you've survived exam day. The hard part is over, right? Well, now comes the final piece of this whole puzzle, figuring out your score. And this is the big question that everyone has. The exam is held on different days, in different shifts, with different sets of questions. So you might be wondering, how on earth can they compare scores fairly? What if my paper was way harder than someone else's? The answer is something called the percentile score, and this is probably the most important concept to understand about your results. It is not the percentage of questions you got right. Instead, it's your rank compared to everyone else who took the test in your specific session. It tells you what percentage of students scored the same as you or lower. This whole process is called normalization, and it's what makes everything fair. And here's the actual formula they use to figure it out. It might look a little intense, but it's pretty simple. They just take the number of people in your session who scored the same as you or less, divide that by the total number of people in the session, and multiply by 100. It's actually calculated to 7 decimal places to make sure there are pretty much no ties. And finally, how do they calculate your All India rank? It's simple. The NTA just looks at your scores from the January and April sessions and picks your best one. That single best performance is what's used to create the final list for admissions. So there you have it, the why, the what, and the how of JEE Main 2026. You now have the complete playbook from that very first application click all the way to your final rank. The path is totally clear. So the only question left is, are you ready?